Good afternoon. I just wanted to say thank you for joining us again. This is Ana Quintana, and
Hello.
I'm Neusom Holmes. We are ministers at Unity of the Triangle. We do this once a week. Today we're going to have a conversation about prosperity. Ana has been actually demonstrating prosperity very well in her life, her whole life, but she's also had some ups and downs like most everybody else has. And so I think she really understands this subject. So I'm going to ask her some questions about prosperity, and maybe we can learn something today from Ana's experience and her studies. So thank you, Ana, for being willing. I know you dressed in black to show that you're in the black, and then also in the green, apparently. So,
Hello, everyone.
yeah.
It's nice to be interviewed by our senior minister, Rev Neusom.
So, Ana, I know at one point you felt like you lost most of everything. What did you lose that made you feel like prosperity would be a good thing?
Well, at some moment in my life, I saw myself sick, seriously sick, without a job and income. And my support system, as I had known it, wasn't there. And it was a really rough moment because I just could not rely on the usual ways that I had used to do life. I've always had this sense of self-confidence that somehow if I get myself to do something, I'll get it done. But I couldn't because I was sick, right? And then because of being sick with the cancer that I had, I could not work regularly. And this is where it led us to come to Raleigh, which by the time that we did come, arrived here, it's going to be 9 years this month. I could not, again, rely on what I had known. So it was.
So your body didn't work like it would. Right. Your job didn't work like it did. Your support system didn't work like it did. So something needed to change.
Exactly.
Right?
And you see, it's interesting that I had already been maybe 15 years as a Unity minister, and I had given so many lectures on God being the source and the consciousness of God being your supply. And to see myself in serious fear was very scary.
Yeah.
I remember doing a service prior to moving in the only English-speaking church, and we were doing that labyrinth meditation. And I remember crying, not necessarily because I was fearful of the illness itself. I was mostly fearful of knowing that we had already made the decision to move, and that we didn't know exactly who was going to hire us, where we're going to work, and how we're going to do life again. And that was really, really, really scary.
Yeah. So I think when you are faced with that situation, many people would just crumble, but you didn't crumble. You did have some practices you did to bring your consciousness in line with your prosperity.
Right. And that's what I meant, that it gave me an opportunity to test the principles and the concepts that I had been preaching for so long. It's like, okay, now is the time.
Ooh.
Let me see if this really works. So what are the things that we preach about and that Unity teaches that I put into practice? Probably your question, and many people who might be going through a difficult situation right now, either with health or health situation or financial situation. I started praying. I mean, I did prayer work every day, especially with affirmations. I would take each one of my fears And I would just get a counteracting affirmation to fight that fear. And of course, the fear starts shifting as you conquer them, right? But that became, of course, the affirmative prayer work that we do at Unity. Another thing that I did was I realized that if I had some differences with close family members, and I knew very objectively that I was right, that I was in a position to say I'm right and you're wrong, and that's it. And in spite of that, I told myself, even though you're right and you know that you've done everything correctly, it's time to cleanse yourself of any resentment or pain towards those who may have not responded that like you were expecting them to. So then I got myself engaged in forgiveness work.
And, forgiveness work, it seems to be, without that, no prosperity lasts.
Oh, yeah. That's for sure, because you're limiting the source. You're limiting the flow by not staying in the frequency of love. And love is like a current of goodness. And when you're saying, I don't love anymore, you need to return to love. And that to me is what forgiveness is. It's the act of returning back to love. Because in that channel of love is where you will get prosper, actually.
And it was a big, difficult time. So I've heard your story in more detail. So I know it was a lot to let go of. Was there
something else?
Yeah.
Yes, it is the biggest one to me. It was, if you truly know that the source of all of your needs, it's in partnership with you, are you exchanging energy with that source by being generous and extending your giving? So one of the things we teach in Unity is the tithing. It's doing 10% of everything that comes, right? And remind yourself that that source is supplying you and that you give back to the source, and you're in a sacred partnership. So without any income, whatever would show up, I would give the 10%. And I don't know if I've ever shared this story, but this is a really great one. So I'm already in Raleigh. I'm not working. I'm getting radiation, already cancer-free. I'm doing my forgiveness work. I'm doing my affirmative work. I'm doing my tithing. And I get a phone call from a Unity minister, a friend of mine from New York. And she called me up to see how I was doing. And we were so engaged in the conversation that I ended up cheering her up. I ended up ministering to her. And she was so touched that 2 weeks later, where we were in a really difficult situation financially that particular week, I opened the mailbox and she had sent her tithing check of $400 and something. Yeah. And it was like, this is so beautiful. I was really reassured that the only thing I needed to do was keep doing these 3 things consistently. And it was like this big protection over me that was like, don't worry, we got this.
Yeah. Ana, as you're telling this story, especially about being a minister first and having said this in public a lot and having professed it and actually practiced it, but under more generous circumstances, to then be faced with the idea that you may not have what you need bodily, emotionally, or financially, and then to go, I'm going to really give this a shot and see, this is a true experiment. Exactly. This is real.
This is real.
Now it's real. And so you were able to love, to give what you had of what you had anyway, and to heal all through these practices, right?
So when I finalized the culmination of this story is that I was completely healed from the cancer, and I had a brand new higher level of consciousness that really took the fear of money away. I realized, Newsom, and I'm maybe ashamed to say in a way, that I was more afraid of not being provided for than actually being sick with a terrible case of cancer.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's the same thing. It's like what's your confidence? Is your confidence more in the money or in the body or in your support system or whatever? And you said, no, I have to at this point make my confidence in something that cannot be seen, that is always with me, that
Yes.
is since it can't be seen, it's an act of faith.
It is. And that's the way I see tithing. It's an act of faith.
Yeah. It sounds like you really proved it.
Yes. And that's why I'm so passionate about teaching these principles, because the bonus of this whole experience is that when you let go of your fears on how you're going to be provided for, you can really dig deeper into your spiritual evolution, because now you don't have to worry. You know that if you keep doing the right thing, you stay open, if you start giving, if you start forgiving, and you keep serving and bringing your talent, the law is going to come back to you, and you will have more to give out. And when you give more to give out, more is going to come back to you. And that's the flow of prosperity that we can just enjoy.
Right. So the giving is really the beginning of getting, in essence.
Yes.
So that you give love or you give forgiveness, and to get to the place where you can give love, you give of your time, talent, your treasure.
Yes.
And also you give your mind something new to think about with your affirmative prayers and your deliberate shifting of consciousness from fear to abundance.
It's almost like you match up the frequency where God, the abundant universe, is at.
Where that hangs out, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then once you hit that, it's like Mary Morris says, when you tune in into that station, instead of 99.1, where the news reports are running all day, you tune into the beautiful classical music where love and abundance abides.
Yeah. So,
Did I impress you?
One of the interesting things is that you would have never known as deeply as you know, or felt as secure as you actually feel now, if it had all gone great all the time, just the same.
It's almost like the same level of difficulty or hardship has the same benefit. And I'm like, thank you that I got that experience, for it shifted me. It's in me, and I can speak from that place. And I know hopefully people feel it, that what I'm saying, I mean it. It's not something I read from a Unity text that sounds beautiful, and let me tell people, I know this is truth and this works.
And you're doing a class on this.
I'm doing a whole series in my Spanish ministry, The Laws of Prosperity, how to transcend your poverty consciousness.
Yeah, great. You know, Anna, I think there's one more thing that needs to be said here, which is that I never knew you before. So before all this happened, I caught you on the backside of that. And like most people, I liked you right away and respected you and had a sense of confidence in you. I imagine you had a lot of that present before this happened. But when it comes to a subject that you have grown through like this, you do inspire other people to believe in you, to trust you, that what you say will have the possibility of changing them as well. And I think if we could live, if the things we say on a Sunday were that well worked out as you work those out, I think it'd be really good for both us and everybody else. So I'm impressed and grateful that you're here.
Thank you, Newsom. Thinking of Gandhi, when he said, and I aspire for that, not that I may be completely, but he said, let my life be my teaching.
Yeah.
And I'm just dedicated to doing the best I can with what I've been given, which is a lot.
Yeah, you got a lot.
Yeah.
You are a lot.
Thank you so much for your support too.
Yeah. So if in this time of difficulty and you're having a hard time, then remember these three things that Anna said, please, which is one, to say an affirmation or a prayer that reconditions your mind to not feel fear or lack or discomfort as the primary thing, but to grow beyond it and to change your mind.
Right.
Next, forgive. Give as much as you can into releasing others and yourself from any judgment you have against yourself. Please do that. And third is give. Give whatever you can, wherever you can. So if it's give a compliment, give love, tithe of your time, your talent, your treasure to spiritual institutions like this one, if this happens to be your home. Do your gift that you do to the world. Become yourself as a powerful human being. Do not be afraid of creating more greatness than you were born with or that you were born expecting. Be as big as you can be. I think if we do all those things, then I don't see how it can miss you. Prosperity is coming your way.
Isn't he the best at speaking? Thank you, Reverend Neusom, for doing a beautiful recap.
Thanks for being the example that makes it real.
Thank you, everyone.
Tune in to us weekly. Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.